Alright, we are here in beautiful sunny Florida, and today, people, we are breaking down the fight, the biggest fight everybody's talking about. Main event of UFC 205, Eddie Alvarez, the lightweight champion of the world, taking on Conor McGregor, the featherweight champion of the world, for Eddie Alvarez's lightweight title. Super fight. Now, why am I making this video? One of the reasons is, whether you agree with this or not, I'm sure some of you will. Some of you won't. I do believe this is the biggest and greatest fight on paper in UFC history. And I will get into that in a second. But I'm going to be breaking down this video into 5 parts. Why is this the greatest fight in UFC history on paper? I'm going to break down a bunch of individual aspects of the fight game and where I believe what fighter has the advantage there. How I believe this fight matches up. Possible X factors, and then I will end it on my official prediction. So, why do I believe this is the greatest fight in UFC history on paper? I mean, obviously this fight hasn't happened yet, so it's on paper. But I do believe this is the biggest fight in UFC history on paper because of many reasons. So first, obviously, Conor McGregor, the biggest star in UFC history. Some people argue that. I believe that's a dumb argument. You can see people say Ronda Rousey. I believe that Conor McGregor has more than enough stats and facts to back up that he is the biggest star in UFC history. He draws in the most people. He is our best opportunity at getting the sport of MMA mainstream. And I believe he's already done that. Next, the Underground King, Eddie Alvarez. If you do not know, the hardcore fans know this. Eddie Alvarez has been one of the best lightweights in the world for a very long time. So you can argue that he has been the best lightweight in the world this entire time. When him and Michael Chandler were going at it for the lightweight title in Bellator, that's when Frankie Edgar and Benson Henderson were going at it, and you can argue that Chandler and Alvarez were better than Edgar and Henderson. I don't know if I would argue that. That's tough to tell, but it's something to take into consideration here. Eddie Alvarez has long been a very underrated fighter just because he was not in the UFC. But another reason, some people care about this more than others. Some people just don't care at all. The trash talk. Obviously, with Conor McGregor, you're going to get a lot of trash talk in every fight, and that obviously creates controversy, creates views, and it's just a big deal to the overall mainstream media. Next, the champion versus champion factor. I mean, how many times have we seen this? Champion versus champion, it's just a very big deal. Not only champion versus champion, but in 2 of the most stacked weight classes, man. 155 and 145. I mean, just 2 absolutely elite fighters. I mean, it's just crazy to me. I mean, this is such a good fight. Another reason, Madison Square Garden. If you don't know the history behind Madison Square Garden, there is a lot that has happened in that building, and the historians will agree that this is a very big deal. If you know the history of the just huge sporting events, the big boxing fights that have happened there. I mean, the energy and history in that building is just, it's huge, man, and this is a very big deal. The crowd is going to be absolutely wild for this fight. Another thing, the stylistic matchup. I believe, based on my assessment of the fight, this is going to be an absolute barn burner of a fight. Very good fight. I'll get into how they match up in a second, but the potential history of a 2-weight champion, which is a very big deal. If Conor McGregor can go out there and win 2 belts, obviously, not only is that a very big deal historically, I mean, that's a very big deal in making Conor McGregor even more of a star than he is already. And lastly, the potential of a new star. So Eddie Alvarez, he's a great guy for the sport. He has a very interesting and, motivating backstory. I mean, I think he's a guy that people can get behind. Obviously, he's getting a lot of hate because he's fighting the more casual fans' boy in Conor McGregor, Obviously, anybody that fights Conor McGregor is just not going to get any kind of love whatsoever, but you can't deny that if Eddie Alvarez goes out there and starches Conor McGregor, that he will be a huge star. Sort of what happened to Nate Diaz. I mean, this is what happens. I mean, you beat a huge star and it rubs off. The Holly Holm and Nate Diaz effect. So individual aspects of the fight game. I'm going to go over some of the more important aspects of the fight game and who I believe has the advantage. So starting off with striking, of course, Conor McGregor is going to have the advantage in most, if not all, of these. So the speed, you got to go with Conor McGregor. Power, Conor McGregor. Diversity, Conor McGregor. Movement, Conor McGregor. Kicks, Conor McGregor. The boxing, it's very close, but I will go with Conor McGregor. Clinch, I will go with Conor McGregor. I believe he has a very underrated clinch. The chin, I'm going to go with Conor McGregor here. If you watch some of Eddie Alvarez's Bellator fights and even some of his UFC fights, he gets rocked in a lot of his fights. Conor McGregor was rocked in the Nate Diaz fight, but I mean, that's really just one fight, man. Defense, I'm going to say the defense is even. Eddie, I know I just talked about how Eddie Alvarez gets rocked, but I mean, most of the time he shows good defensive striking. I mean, he gets clipped when he gets hit, actually, but he doesn't get hit a whole lot. I would say Conor McGregor, but all the unorthodox and crazy things that he goes for, I believe he leaves himself open to a lot of shots. And, you know, I'm not 100% sure that Eddie Alvarez can take advantage of that, but I'm just going to say the defensive striking is even. Activity, I believe Conor McGregor is the more active fighter. And IQ, I will give the fighting IQ advantage to Conor McGregor. So, the wrestling, obviously, Eddie Alvarez is going to have the advantage in most, if not all, of these also. Offensive wrestling, I would give to Eddie Alvarez. Defensive wrestling, I would give to Eddie Alvarez. Scrambles, I would give to Eddie Alvarez. Timing, I would give to Eddie Alvarez. And cage control, I would give to Eddie Alvarez. So, obviously, Eddie Alvarez is going to have a big wrestling advantage. Conor McGregor is going to have a big striking advantage. But I do believe that the difference between Conor McGregor's striking and Eddie Alvarez's striking is bigger than the difference between Eddie Alvarez's wrestling and Conor McGregor's wrestling. Eddie has very solid wrestling, but I do believe Conor has his wrestling's overlooked. Everyone thinks he can just get taken down, but in all honesty, there's only been one guy that has taken him down and keeping him there for a decent amount of time, and that was Chad Mendes. And Eddie Alvarez is no Chad Mendes. Chad Mendes is a very well-established wrestler. But lastly, the most even aspect of the fight game between these two is the ground game. So the offensive jiu-jitsu, I would say that is even. The defensive jiu-jitsu, I would give to Conor McGregor. I believe Eddie Alvarez leaves his neck open quite a bit, and I'm not saying Conor McGregor could take advantage of that, but I'm just saying I believe Conor McGregor has the advantage in the defensive jiu-jitsu. I believe it would be very hard for Eddie Alvarez to go out there and submit Conor McGregor. A lot of people think that's how he's going to get it done, wrestle him up and catch him in a sub. I disagree heavily. Top control, I would give to Eddie Alvarez. Conor McGregor has very good top control. He gets on top in Cage Warriors. He got on top of quite a few opponents, and they had a very hard time getting up. But that is lesser competition. And Eddie Alvarez, he has very good top control when he can actually get the guys down. The get-up game, I would say that is even. Conor McGregor, he got taken down a lot by Chad Mendes, the great wrestler, but more often than not, he got up right away. And then the scrambles, I would say that it's even. I think when it comes to the scramble game, they are even. But how they match up, so here is how I think the fight will play out. So, clearly Conor McGregor has the big standing advantage here. He can, a lot of people don't really talk about this that much, but he has a very underrated reach. His reach really is what helps him out a lot. I saw somebody on Twitter say this, he has orangutan arms. It's true, man. The dude's got some long-ass arms. His reach is 74 inches, which obviously that's nothing compared to John Jones' 84 inches, but dude's small. I mean, his arms are very long for his size. I believe he's going to be able to use his reach to keep distance and just piece Eddie Alvarez up. a big part, Conor McGregor, he needs to utilize his uppercuts. I believe Eddie Alvarez will be going for quite a bit of double legs in this fight, and if Conor McGregor can go out there and utilize uppercuts, I think he can absolutely catch Eddie right on the chin. Eddie has power, but it really is risky business to sit there and trade with Conor McGregor. Not sure if he's going to want to do that, but we'll see. I think Conor will catch him if Eddie decides to just go out there and bite down on the mouthpiece and try to knock out Conor on his own, which is possible. Clinching with Conor McGregor against the cage is also very risky business. He had success against Anthony Pettis. I don't think Anthony Pettis has the clinch that Conor McGregor has. Like I said earlier, Conor has a very good clinch, and I think Eddie can get pieced up a bit if he tries to get Conor against the cage. I think Conor is going to be able to get some knees off onto the body, get some elbows off to the face. I just think it's definitely risky business there for Eddie to try to just hold Conor McGregor against the cage and tire him out. It's going to be tough to do for 5 rounds. I doubt that's going to be his whole game plan, but I think he will learn very quickly that's not where he's going to want to have him. Eddie's biggest chance here is to take Conor McGregor down and hold him on the ground, which that's going to be hard to do, but I do believe that's where Eddie will have the biggest success. He's going to just want to take him down, batter him down on the ground, try to tire him out, use his weight on top of him. It's going to be hard because Conor McGregor, like I said, his get-up game is very solid. More often than not, when Chad Mendes took him down, he got up, and Eddie Alvarez is not the wrestler that Conor McGregor is. Eddie won't be able to finish Conor McGregor on the ground with subs or ground and pound. I believe Conor McGregor eventually gets back up to his feet every time Eddie gets him down, and he's going to be able to just continue to piece Eddie Alvarez up, and we'll see what happens with that. If he can knock him out, I believe Conor McGregor could easily knock out Eddie Alvarez if given the right opportunity. So next up, possible X factors here. Conor possibly coming back too soon after the Nate Diaz fight. You see more often than not when guys get into absolute wars like that, they want to take a little bit more time off than what's it going to be, about 3 months after that fight. And you've seen people talk about Conor, his leg or his shin or his knee, something in that area that could possibly have been injured, which people are talking about that could be the reason why he's not fighting at 205. I'm not sure, man. You don't know if he's 100%. It's tough. And obviously Eddie Alvarez is coming off of a very quick KO. But another X factor here, I wouldn't say it's unlikely, but it's definitely possible, because obviously Conor has done it to many other of his opponents. Conor could be in Eddie Alvarez's head. I don't think he was before that press conference, but I think Eddie's head is a little bit messed with after that. Honestly, man. Especially shout out to that fan that completely owned Eddie Alvarez, and that was just hilarious. Eddie Alvarez definitely seemed a bit thrown off after that, but yeah, I think Conor could be in Eddie Alvarez's head, and he could make the same mistake that Dustin Poirier and Jose Aldo made and try to go after and take Conor's head off and then get their heads taken off of their own. But another thing, Eddie Alvarez possibly underestimating Conor McGregor. If you watch Eddie Alvarez's interviews, particularly the one with Ariel Helwani, he says stuff like Conor McGregor's the easiest fight of his life. He's not as good as people say he is. He feels like he's about to show the world that there's no Christmas or no Santa Claus. It's just craziness, man. He thinks he's just going to go in there and just be 100 times better than Conor, and he's going to see really quick that it absolutely is not the case. Even if he's the better fighter, he is not better by the amount that he thinks he is. Another X factor, Eddie Alvarez possibly falling in love with his power. You see this a lot of times. Guys go in there, they knock out a really good fighter like he did to Dos Anjos, and they think they can just go out there and knock anybody out. And, if Eddie goes in there and tries to take Conor McGregor's head off, what has happened to guys that have done that before, it just doesn't work out for the most part. And lastly, Conor McGregor at 155, his best weight for him. So obviously at 170, Conor he pretty much walks around at 170. I mean, he weighs in at 168 for those welterweight fights. That's a lot of weight to carry on you, man, and I can't blame Conor McGregor for not having the very best cardio in the world. It's just a guy his size shouldn't be carrying around that weight. It just shouldn't happen. Then at 145, the same thing. I mean, he's shown good cardio at 145. I mean, he won 3 rounds with Max Holloway and seemed fine. But that weight cut really takes a toll on you, man. Just takes a toll. You're not going to be at your best. Conor McGregor at 155 will clearly be his best. And I believe when it comes down to it, if he has to go 5 rounds with Eddie Alvarez, he can hold his own and go 5 rounds easily. And then, so lastly, the very last part of the video, my official prediction, what I believe will happen on November 12th in the main event at UFC 205. I believe out of all of Conor McGregor's fights, the one that this will look most similar to is the Chad Mendes fight. I think Eddie Alvarez will have his moments. He's going to get Conor down. He's going to beat him up in the ground a little bit. But like I said, Eddie Alvarez is not the wrestler that Chad Mendes is. I think Conor's going to be able to get up quickly more often than not. I believe, like I said, I think Eddie might have about 2 minutes of holding Conor McGregor on the ground, but it's tough, man. I just think there's such a big striking advantage here. I think that I think Eddie Alvarez is going to be able to get Conor McGregor down in that first round when he's at the most fresh, and I would say at the end of the first round or at the beginning of the second round when Eddie Alvarez is just a little tired. I'm not saying gassed, but just a little tired. He's going to get caught and clipped and put on the ground and TKO'd. I do have Conor McGregor, the late first round, early second round TKO. Now, I was, when this fight was first announced, I was like 55% Eddie Alvarez, and now I'm around 65% Conor McGregor. I do believe Conor McGregor gets the job done here around 65 to 70% of the time, and I do like a bet on Conor McGregor at the price, especially Conor McGregor via TKO/KO at plus 111, I believe was the last price I saw it as, and I do have a unit on that. Yeah, man, I do have Conor McGregor via a TKO here early in the fight. Just an awesome fight, man. I've had such a good time going back and watching these guys' career, man. Just amazing fight. I can't wait. But thanks for watching the video, guys. I had a lot of fun doing this. I wasn't going to make this video till I decided like 3 days ago. I was going to put it out this weekend because this weekend was exactly 4 weekends until UFC 205. Now we're here on Monday, October 17th, and we're about like mid-20s days out, like 25 days out, and can't wait, man. It's going to be such a good fight. I'm actually going to be on vacation for the fight. I'm going to be watching it up north in Connecticut, where I'm originally from. Been watching it with the fam, some friends. It's going to be a good old time. But, yeah, man, thanks so much for watching the video, guys. Much longer than I expected. That's usually how these play out. But, yeah, man, Conor McGregor, TKO, second round. That's how I see it. So, biggest fight in UFC history also, in my opinion. I wanted to make that point. I really do believe it is. But I've been rambling long enough. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. I'm going to have a Bellator breakdown on Wednesday for this Friday's card. I believe it's Alexander Shlemenko returning against Kendall Grove. There's some other good fights on there too. But that's all I got. I'll see you guys on Wednesday, and until then, enjoy the fights.